better start talking! You better start talking right now!
I can.
Wait! Oh, what are you doing?
Offer it to me freely. In place of the patriarchy, you would have a queen! Not white, but diverse, inclusive, and equitable!
I think it's fair to say that no one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
I have photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Walt Disney mortgaged his entire company and his own family's home, I believe, to complete the Snow White movie.
Snow White starring Rachel Zegler opened to a dismal $43 million, snagging the title of the lowest debut weekend for any Disney live-action remake, beating 2019's Dumbo.
Maybe not destroy a classic from my childhood and put an actress in there that not only hates the plot and the storyline of the movie she's in, but also seemingly hates Snow White, the character herself.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now. They flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? And she wouldn't. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting on Snow White and the prince and young love and women who want to get married.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
Rachel Zegler just faced a brutal reality check, and now she's demanding that South Park's latest episode be banned. After getting humiliated on national TV by one of the most savage parodies ever aired, completely lost it behind the scenes, calling the episode defamatory and pushing Comedy Central to pull it down. But the damage was already done. South Park didn't just mock Disney's Snow White disaster. They exposed the entire meltdown that Hollywood tried to hide. And what happened next turned a career setback into a full-blown industry-wide reckoning. In classic South Park fashion, the episode pulled zero punches. They mocked the endless race and gender swapping in Hollywood, hammered Kathleen Kennedy's reputation for ruining franchises, and torched Disney's desperate attempts to modernize beloved classics. Snow White was no longer a fairy tale about true love, but a bizarre lecture on the patriarchy, diversity, and inclusion. And in the center of it all, Rachel Zegler transformed into a caricature of preachy self-righteousness, caught in the chaos of a fake unwatchable movie called Woke White.
Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you? Spare me your white savior complex. I don't need anything from someone like you.
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
The parody wasn't subtle. Clips of the episode exploded across TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube within hours. Reaction videos flooded the internet. Memes were everywhere.
Leave. Now. And never come back.
Leave now. And never come back.
Rachel Zegler, who was already teetering under a mountain of bad press, became the face of Hollywood's worst instincts, the poster child for a generation of remakes that nobody asked for. Sources close to her say she wasn't laughing. She was furious. Insiders claim she demanded Comedy Central pull the episode immediately, calling it defamatory and humiliating. But if anything, her outrage only added gasoline to the fire.
HD TV on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all?
You would do in a pinch, my queen, but Snow White's the fairest I have seen.
Bring me Snow White's heart in this box.
This bed's too hard. This bed's too soft. This bed is just like the first one. Also too hard. I guess I'll sleep in the one that's too soft.
We'll take some shrooms and go to our rooms.
There's something in our house.
Let's put a pickaxe in its brain.
Maybe she's been placed under some kind of a curse.
And all that will wake her is the kiss of a handsome...
I'm awake already! Who are you? Care for an apple? Okay. I'll take a green one.
No, take the red one.
Take a bite, dearie. I'm so scared.
So Snow White slept and waited for her prince to come, but he never did.
Then the Simpsons jumped into the fray. Yes, even Disney's own subsidiary couldn't resist taking a savage swing. In a blistering parody called Snow Woke, the Reimagining, they portrayed a preachy, obnoxious Snow White who thought she was too good for fairy tales, true love, or audiences. It was a brutal, devastating blow, especially considering the Simpsons technically fall under Disney's corporate umbrella. Disney couldn't stop them, and they didn't even try.
I am walking into Snow White, 2 p.m., now seating. Let's see how empty it is. I hope it's off the woke we go. I hope. Sound like I hear a couple of people. One, two. Okay. 2.
If Rachel hoped things would blow over, she was dead wrong. Reports emerged that Jack Black himself confronted Zegler after her controversial interviews went viral.
It's just a hilarious journey. I saw it, and I was smiling and laughing the whole way through. And I would just like to sit in the back in the dark with no one watching me just to gauge the audience and see if they laugh as hard as I do.
Insiders say the conversation was so intense that Rachel ended up entering therapy shortly afterward. According to sources, Jack wasn't alone in his frustration. Many in Hollywood felt Rachel's tone-deaf comments alienated not just fans, but colleagues too.
They flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? And she wouldn't. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting on Snow White and the prince and young love and women who want to get married.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
I haven't seen a movie with ratings like this in a very long time.
Rachel Zegler is absolutely finished in Hollywood, and this is why. Because of the Snow White box office flop. They literally took the movie out of commission. This never happens, guys, especially for Hollywood movies or Disney studio-made movies. This is the biggest studio, if not in the world or in Hollywood in general, guys. So for them to have to go and remove their movie from the movie theater, and they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this movie, this is why she's never gonna get another job again in Hollywood.
It sounds like you're one of the only ones there, just like Rachel Zegler, as it turns out, and we part with this video of Rachel Zegler alone in a theater watching herself. One of the most unlikable humans.
That
ever.
is sadder than when the original Snow White eats the apple.
And it is a remarkable, legendary run of L's.
Congrats on the film. How's it feel to finally have it come out? Feels wonderful. Feels wonderful. what would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it. All right. Congrats, Rachel. Good luck.
Meanwhile, the box office told a brutal story. Snow White, a film that cost Disney over $200 million, flopped spectacularly. Despite years of hype and a legacy going back to 1937, audiences simply didn't show up. Theaters sat empty. Merch sat unsold on shelves. Disney's once bulletproof brand loyalty was crumbling, and executives were left scrambling for explanations. The dream had become a nightmare. So why did audiences turn so hard against Rachel? It wasn't just the movie's woke updates. Rachel herself repeatedly insulted the original story, mocked the idea of true love, and made divisive political statements that alienated half the country.
Do the controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars? Oh, have we been following the Snow White?
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once, was terrified of it, never revisited Snow White again. So I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17 years.
The message of the movie is to be that. That's the message that they wrote a script that's telling girls, I don't need nobody tells me. I'm a 20-year-old girl, so obviously I should run my mouth all the time.
Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, two commentators who rarely agree on anything, both slammed the remake as another example of Hollywood lecturing instead of entertaining. They argued that people don't buy movie tickets to be scolded. They go to escape. And then there was the dwarf controversy. When Peter Dinklage criticized the backward idea of casting little people as dwarfs, Disney panicked.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
Peter Dinklage isn't feeling Disney's upcoming live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Instead of updating the characters thoughtfully, they erased them entirely, replacing them with bizarre CGI magical creatures. It backfired spectacularly. Little person actors, who rarely get opportunities, were furious at losing iconic roles.
They're remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs, okay?
Okay, but what do they call them?
Why would they get rid of the dwarfs, though?
Magical
creatures. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it, the disability, like we're a disability group. You just erase that whole image. The argument should have been from Peter Dinklage. There's power of being on TV. There's power of television. And to put 7 people with dwarfism on camera in a major Disney movie, there's still power there. If the story is offensive, change the story. Don't change the characters.
Audiences mocked the cheap-looking replacements, and another piece of Snow White's magic was gone. Internally, Disney was in full crisis mode. Executives reportedly tried to rein in Rachel's public comments, hiring media consultants to coach her, even reshooting scenes at enormous cost. Nothing worked. Every new interview seemed to pour more gasoline on the fire. From calling the prince a stalker to suggesting audiences were wrong for loving fairy tales, Rachel kept digging the hole deeper. Snow White was supposed to launch Rachel Zegler into superstardom. Instead, it has turned into a cautionary tale for an entire industry. Her public image has taken a devastating hit, and the whispers inside Hollywood suggest many are now backing away from her quietly. Disney itself, facing one of the worst box office disasters in its history, is left to pick up the pieces, if they even can. At the end of the day, Rachel's downfall wasn't just about a bad movie. It was about losing the audience's trust, and maybe even their willingness to believe in the magic Disney once promised. And with South Park, The Simpsons, Jack Black, Joe Rogan, and Bill Maher all taking their shots, it's clear this isn't just a momentary backlash. It's a full-blown reckoning.